p.m. This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com with my daily wrestling news update. Smackdown fell below 2 million viewers on Friday night. According to the Wrestling Observer, it was below everything on network TV that night, with the exception of a rerun of 2020. I've read a few reports on the show, and apparently it wasn't booked very well. A lot of television shows right now are doing above average viewership because of the lockdown. However, viewership for Raw and SmackDown, for example, are below average. And as I've stated on this, my viewership is up right now. As of today, the past 30 days, I've had 9.4 million viewers on YouTube. That's more YouTube viewers than NWA, MLW, New Japan English, and Ring of Honor have had in the past month. Some people have accused me of being arrogant for bringing this up, and I'm going to toot my own horn on that, sure. I consider it a great accomplishment considering those companies are much better funded than mine. I'm just one person with a regular job, a city job in a gym. And those companies are large companies, very well funded, with the same opportunities to post on their channel as I have. And it was funny, someone commented the other day, AEW should work with Ring of Honor because this Marty Squirrel guy that books for Ring of Honor is trying to arrange that. I mean, I'm getting millions more hits a month right now than Ring of Honor. Maybe they should just hire me instead of worrying about Ring of Honor, which has declining interest right now. The only combat sports related topic that trended on the Google searches this past week was Mike Tyson training again for charity exhibition matches. I actually posted a video of Tank Abbott talking about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is even one of Tank Abbott's heroes. My recent interview with Tank Abbott is on patreon.com/the Hannibal TV right now, along with my interview with Zach Gowen. That was very good, by the way. I really enjoyed that interview. I am interviewing Bill Anderson tomorrow, who helped train Sting in The Ultimate Warrior, was a WWE wrestler, ring announcer, and referee, did it all. I'm interviewing Jimmy Corderas, the old WWE official, soon Daniel Puder, and a comedian who has worked with a lot of wrestlers. And he says he has a very interesting Sid story. Ricky Morton also told me to call him back next week about setting something up with him. So in other wrestling news, Jimmy Uso has a knee injury. Kevin Owens has a sprained ankle. That's why he's been out since WrestleMania. Missouri, as of tomorrow, is apparently opening up for concerts as long as people stay 10 feet apart. So that goes to show maybe they're going to start allowing wrestling events and MMA events if people stay 10 feet apart. I don't see the fun of that unless you're like a really super fan that is willing to go to a live event and keep a 10-foot distance from everyone, but that's just me. Canadian Wrestling Elite, I covered some of their events. I knew this was going to happen. I don't know why they waited so long to do it, but they had like a 30-day tour scheduled featuring Shane Douglas across Canada. It was canceled. I don't know why they waited until I guess yesterday or so to announce this, because we knew that the border was closed between Canada and the US for at least, I think, another over 20 days minimum. So I was curious how they thought they were going to get Shane Douglas across the border. But I do admire those guys for doing these cross-Canada tours. To me, that does not seem like very much fun, performing in front of overall maybe average 100 fans a night, traveling across Canada. They've had many car accidents on those tours, but as I said, I admire them for their dedication for doing those tours. But that sounds like a nightmare to me. Um, I posted a compilation video on Brock Lesnar just now before I did this. Some fans commented, maybe some of you guys were wondering this, but there is like a very old interview I did with Honky. It's not even an interview. We were having dinner together, and I asked him a few questions during the dinner and recorded the answers on my cell phone. And those clips have, some of them I think have over 100,000 hits of the two or three clips I have. Definitely tens of thousands of hits, but a bunch of people are trolling me. Why did you post a video of a guy at a restaurant? Well, because there was a show that day. He was not doing an interview that day. He didn't want to do one. He said I could ask him a few questions while he was eating. That's the backstory. Sometimes you got to take what you can get. And obviously, it still had tens of thousands of hits. So I don't regret it. Also, I got a ton of heat because I posted a story on my YouTube stories. I also posted it on Facebook at Devon Hannibal Nicholson, which, by the way, I recently deleted a bunch of inactive accounts. So I do have room for some more friends on there. I think a lot of people are closing their accounts recently because they're sick of all the lockdown talk. But I posted a picture that Pierre Carl Ouellet, PCO, was in the Sun newspaper in the UK with the Great North Wrestling Canadian title. He's a former Canadian champion. And I posted it because I thought it was cool that a UK newspaper, whether you like it or not, it is popular. And just by saying it's popular, I got tons of negative feedback on just posting this picture because I thought it's cool that our Canadian championship was featured in a UK newspaper. So for everyone hating me on that, get a life. I'll answer a couple of your questions. That's about it for the news today. Richard M says, give me an old episode of Sunday Night Heat any day over today's products. I was actually on Sunday Night Heat before against YouTube from Las Vegas. It was a really big crowd that night too. Ralph Vaquero, how's it going? I'm getting sick of working my legs every day. I'll tell you that, Ralph. I'm really missing the damn gym. It's pissing me off that the gyms are closed, but tomorrow they're opening up garden centers here in Ontario. Unleash the Rosen says, is the rumor true about Fox or ESPN buying WWE? Well, apparently, from what I understand, both Fox and ESPN are owned by Disney. From what I understand, I'm not an expert in either of those companies. I don't even have either of those channels, but Disney might be interested in buying WWE. That's the rumor going around. Dave McMichael says, under 2 million viewers. Damn, Mr. Dress Up had better numbers. That is funny. And I don't know if Mr. Dress Up was on in the US or not, but that's a popular children's show in Canada when I was growing up. Josh Warmick, Great North Wrestling is the best. Thanks a lot. Surrey Jack, is Teddy Hart released from jail? Yes. And I believe his trial is coming up in either July or August. I don't know. KW gives me the thumbs up. Chris Monte, I'm not going to say that. He said a few comments I'm not going to repeat, but other than that, he says Tank Abbott loves pharmaceutical marijuana. I don't know if he does or not. I honestly didn't ask him if he smokes weed, but that might be a good question. They're pretty open about it in California. Come back, Great North Wrestling 2021 to Pembroke. Very possible. We were supposed to go to Pembroke in June. Not June, July for a Canada Day thing. But it obviously got canceled, as did our 13th anniversary show in Ottawa. So I don't think there's going to be any Great North Wrestling events until at least 2021. Mike Hart, thank you so much for your intelligent rating reviews and all wrestling news. Love your show. If that's the Mike Hart, who is Smith's son, hello. Cute water bottle says, I like your hat, sexy daddy. Ha ha ha. Dave McMichael, Bill Anderson was close with Chris. I will ask him about that. Anyone else that has questions for Bill, put them in the comments. I have other people that review my comments, but I probably read 75 to 80% of them. As you guys probably know, I do respond to a lot of them. Al Hitchin, do you know how hard it is to pass a joint around at a concert when you're 10 feet apart? Yeah, exactly. I do have to admit that it's way better, at least here in Canada. Now marijuana is legal. I hated doing security when I would never enforce that. Like, there's nothing worse than like when there's a massive crowd and you have a dick supervisor or someone that tells you to go in the crowd just to tell some guy to put out his joint, and like you really have to like fight your way through the crowd just to do that. Now that it's legal in Canada, it's nice that people could just do that and nobody gives a damn. Although strangely enough, I did this was a really good concert actually. One of the last ones I worked before I retired from that was for the weekend, and for some reason they, even though it was an indoor concert, they fully allowed marijuana smoke that day, including backstage. And I remember entering the back door of the arena, and like the whole arena just reeked of weed. And it was like a giant hot box. I don't know how they got away with that, um, but that was pretty cool, actually. Richard M, did you used to buy any of the old WWE magazines? Yes, and I still have a lot of them in boxes down in my basement. My favorite food, Shawn Michaels Lazy Eyes asks, sushi is my favorite food. Herc Zeus says, do an interview with Nails. Well, whenever the border opens, I want to plan a trip to Minnesota, and I would like to track Nails down on that trip, the Berserker, Jesse Ventura, Greg Gagne. Those would be some of my top people. I know I got a lot of viewers from Minnesota. Ha ha, Mike Hart, what happened to Kid Nichols? That was a terrible name that Bruce Hart gave me as a rib when I wrestled for Stampede Wrestling, for anyone that doesn't know that. Ralph Vaquero says legal in Nevada too. Yeah, I remember it was actually, there was a legal pot shop right beside the Gold Coast Hotel where the cauliflower reunion took place last year. I am planning on going back in September if it actually happens in September for the 2021 one. Brian Blair did say I could have permission to record that. Can I interview Chris Benoit for April Fools? Ha 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 ha. Dan Masters live. Is this PCW Ultra ring announcer Dan Masters? Great interview. Maybe. Anyways, he wants me to interview the Blood Hunter, Dan Masters. I don't even know what happened to the Blood Hunter. I don't know if he went back to Puerto Rico and is never going to return. I really don't know what happened. But shout out to Dan Masters. He is the greatest ring announcer alive today. Now that Howard Finkel's passed away. Spackle 316 says Jacques Rougeau, the Mountie interview was very entertaining. Glad you got to be trained by him. Well, I was glad to be trained by him too. He's a nice guy, really nice guy. Raw talent. We need a T. Hell Hopper shoot. I would interview him. I would if he's still around. I would. Do I like Braun Strowman? No, because of him telling people not to support independent wrestlers on Patreon. Well, he's making 1.5 million a year. I think he's a piece of shit for doing that. Can I interview Mason, Ryan, or Wardlow? I actually used to be very good friends with Mason Ryan. I was in England with him. I wrestled him a bunch of times. We were buddies. I actually opened up a Plenty of Fish account for him back in the day when people were using that instead of Tinder. And believe it or not, Mason Ryan, as built as he was like having issues, like hooking up, like which was crazy. But I'm sure he's gotten over that now. The last time I saw him, he was hired from the same WWE tryout camp I was hired from. That's the last time I saw him. So it's been about 11 years since I saw him. Cody D, what do I think of Dave Schultz slapping the reporter and Hulk Hogan choking out the other? I'm going to do a full video on that. A lot of people ask me about that. Cadel Adam, am I friends with Bret Hart? I actually never met Bret Hart. When I was training in Calgary, there was a lot of friction in the Hart family, and the Hart family was very divided, and Bret Hart was not hanging out around the Hart house very often. I'm not going to get into that because I'm on good terms with the Hart family. I have a lot of respect for them, obviously. How long did I train before I had my first match? Well, my first match in Mat Rats, like a week. I had literally had my first match after a week of training. It took me like 2 years to become a decent wrestler. Could I beat Jake Hager in a shoot wrestling match? John Resident says. I would have a shoot wrestling match against Jake Hager. I would hold my own against him. I've never seen him amateur wrestle. I like him. I knew him back in Deep South Wrestling. But I did remember I was just a low guy on the totem pole, and at one point I remember Jody Hamilton said, nobody in this room should be able to get behind Jake Hager. And like I wasn't under contract. I didn't speak up, but I remember being pissed and kind of insulted that day. They didn't know I was an amateur wrestler, but I was thinking to myself, I could probably get behind him. Joe Betch tipped me $5. Thank you for always tipping me $5. And he's laughing at something. KW says those interviews that you want to do in Minneapolis would be awesome for an old school fan like me. Dan Masters Live says, thank you. Hope to see you again soon. I hope so too. I hope that I'm back covering a PCW Ultra event soon. Saw Monahan wants me to interview the Berserker, and I'm going to close it at this, guys, because I'm working on another interview compilation right now on John Cena, and then I'm going to go out and run like I do 5 or 6 nights a week because I'm going crazy being in my house all day.